I think, a dialogue is always good. I think, and in particular with such important countries as the US and China. And of course, there are tensions. We need to find a way to address those in a good way going forward. So I think if some problems occur, I think China has a lot more to contribute.
Welcome, Mr. Oygard. Really glad to have this interview with you. In addressing deglobalization and achieving global economic recovery, what do you think are the key tasks?
I think one task, of course, is we need to find a way to to live together on this planet, right? And to cooperate. And of course, on the highest level, globalization has been very, very beneficial to most countries and to the people of most countries. For example, for China, of course, the economic growth in China is largely based on the increased trading of goods and material. So I think it's very, very important. That it also causes some challenges, and we need to be aware of those, and we need to find ways to resolve them. And we need to build the respect and recognition that support necessary on the political level to support globalization.
Since you mentioned China's economic growth, what factors do you think contribute to the resilience of China's economy?
China has achieved over the last 20 years is remarkable. That the largest country in the world has had the highest growth in per capita GDP. It should almost not be possible because the ones that achieve the extreme performances is the small country or the small company, even from a statistical point of view. And it's been based on the kind of a thoughtful policy of very significant savings by Iceland, by the Chinese people, Chinese companies, and so on, that has been transferred into investments. So that's history. The current situation, of course, is that it's in many ways it's relatively well balanced in the sense that you have there's a surplus in the trade with other countries, inflation is low, government balances are reasonably sound. The last one, which I think is, when I look at China, appears to be important, is that you need to find a way where you increase the payout or the return from the investments that you make. It appears to me that that's the transition that China now is going through, that increased effort is being put into the importance of not only recycling money into new projects, but ensuring that the new projects actually generate a return in an economic point of view, i.e. that increased value is generated, that the factories that are built actually have a profit. I also see the importance of having an area of growth that really benefits the Chinese people. I think we should all be enthusiastic about what this implies and what can be achieved by transferring this enormous saving capacity and creativity into economic trajectory that focuses on domestic consumption, domestic investment, and resolving the environmental challenges.
At the summit meeting in San Francisco, China and the US decided to set up high-level interactions. How do you view this meeting?
How to ensure broader economic development across the world. Financing, of course, incredibly important. What can be done to ensure that the global south has the necessary investment level and that we can improve the living conditions in a good way. So I think, a dialogue is always good. I think, and in particular with such important countries as the US and China. And of course, there are tensions. We need to find a way to address those in a good way going forward. Because if not, the consequences for themselves and for the world will be too big. So I'm hopeful that the dialogue that now is being established, that can lead to a constructive way forward.
Your book, In the Combat Zone of Finance, is about how Iceland successfully dealt with the financial crisis of 2008. Why did you want to write such a book?
Many of the themes are also still relevant. There's still too much debt in the world. There's still economic imbalances, and we see every from now and then that either countries, banks, companies get into problems.
What lessons can we draw from the crisis 15 years ago?
I think the first is everyone should know about the dynamics of a financial crisis. So every financial crisis starts with too much debt. It could be too much debt of a country, of a bank, of companies or households. The second part, of course, is that at some point, there becomes a lack of liquidity, a lack of ability to finance the loans and to refinance. And that's really what triggers the financial crisis. Then comes what's called a solidity crisis, that companies go bankrupt, or banks, or again, even countries. And then there are two more phases. The fourth phase, where this transforms into a shock in the real economy, where people lose their jobs and so on. And then the fifth stage is that the governments in many countries will have to pick up the bill and cover the costs. And I think it's very useful for everyone to be familiar with that.
What is your outlook for the economy next year?
I'm actually, again, an optimist. I think China, if needed, has the capacity to have a more supportive growth policy. So I think if some problems occur, I think China has a lot more to contribute. And then the Western world is sort of stumbling a bit on this inflationary challenge, but that's about to be resolved. And with that, we can work together and have a good economic momentum both next year and the years to come.
That's it for today's interview. Okay, thank you so much.